Well, my name's Jim Doyle. I'm the general manager of Media General's MGFX, and we are actually the graphics and design hub for the Media General broadcast division.
Jim, what are some of the main reasons for declining readership?
Well, I would say that we're really not experiencing so much decline in readership as I think people are reading and probably taking in more news than ever before. They're just getting it from another source. I think that particularly with a younger demographic, you're seeing younger demographics are getting their information more and more from the internet. I think readership skews older. I think the demographic for that has always skewed older. I think one of the mistakes that we've made in our industry in the past has been a desire to try and appeal to the younger viewer, or the younger reader, I'm sorry. And I don't think that was ever part of our core demographic.
What are the main reasons for declining revenue?
Well, the main reason for declining revenue right now clearly is the economic downturn. What that has created in the print industry, but also in the newspaper industry, but also in the broadcast industry, is a burning platform for change. And so all of our industries, all of the media industries have had a long-term strategy for change, but with the economic downturn, that timetable has been extremely accelerated. And so we're having to implement changes much quicker than we had originally anticipated. We've all been migrating as media outlets toward becoming content generators for internet outlets of media. Now we're having to consider those options on a much more aggressive time scale.
What are the major marketing challenges in particular? Is competition one of them?
I would say probably the major marketing challenge is relevance. Here's the thing. What you get from the professional news media is professional journalism. You're getting educated reporting. You're getting objective reporting. And what we're running up against right now are a lot of blogs, a lot of information that people are getting from, I guess what you would say, less official news sources. And with a lot of the demographics, when you talk with them about that, why is that appealing to them? They feel somewhat jaded about the traditional media. And they think that the information that they're getting from these other folks, even though it's more opinion-based, they have a tendency to feel that it's more real, if you will. That's a term that you hear a lot of.
Do you think brand recognition has anything to do with it, maybe?
I think brand recognition is, I have some very personal thoughts on brand recognition. The common thought about it in the industry and in print and broadcast is your brand equity is the thing that's going to carry you through. Being the Richmond Times-Dispatch, being the Wall Street Journal, I think to a certain degree there is a lot of truth to that. I think if you're the Wall Street Journal, you definitely have a lot of brand equity. If the New York Times, you have a lot of brand equity that can carry you through. I think on a local scale, that brand equity may not have as much value. And so one of the thoughts that we've been tossing around a little bit is to try and recreate the brand, or actually try to create multiple brands for the content and put all those brands out there at the same time. The idea being that people tend to find a brand that means something to them. And so it's more of a micro application of the brand as opposed to a macro application of the brand. You know, the Richmond Times-Dispatch has a wide range of appeal for people in this area, and the thought would be, the conventional thought would be, well, that's where people naturally gravitate to. But the internet kind of breaks down all those rules, and it has broken down all those rules. Why can't you have the same brands reskinned, or the same content reskinned 1,000 times with 1,000 different brands? And maybe, number one, you increase the opportunity for people to find your content and therefore create value for your content. But you also create what may end up being a brand that means something to that individual person and something that they'd be more willing to stick with than the more traditional brand.
What will replace the newspaper, if anything at all, in your opinion?
Well, newspaper, it's a mistake to think that newspapers are going to disappear from the face of the earth. Newspapers are always going to be around. There's always going to be a market for the newspaper. It's probably going to be an older demographic, always will be, and some people are always going to like getting a newspaper. Is that going to always be a local newspaper? I doubt it. I mean, most of the newspaper readers I talk to have already migrated away from local papers. They're moving on to things like subscriptions for major national newspapers like the New York Times. So newspapers, I think, are always going to be there. I think that there are a lot of substitutes for the newspaper. And so that's what people are sort of gravitating to a certain degree right now. So, obviously a replacement or a substitute for the newspaper would be the same content online. One thing to consider, though, is some of the advances, some of the things you're seeing right now in electronic media. Things like the Kindle, things like Sony's new app, or their new electronic reader. I know personally, I would probably go and subscribe to the local paper on my Kindle as opposed to getting the newspaper. There's an ecological concern there that actually something like that addresses to a certain degree.
All right, Jim. Well, I appreciate it, and I thank you for your time.
Absolutely. My pleasure.